Hi guys, so these are the notes that we took in class today, and this is building on the video that we just watched called the People Paradox. Remember that video looked at India, which is having population growth, and it looked at Japan, which is having the opposite problem of a declining population. So we need to take a step back and as demographers, geographers, try to figure out what are the 4 ways that we can predict whether or not a population is going to increase or decrease. So please write this title down. This is what we talked about today. Demographic factors predicting population growth. In other words, what are the characteristics that we look at in order to help us figure out if a population is going to grow or decline? Now there are 4 primary factors that we look at as demographers. The first factor, and probably the most important, is women's education. More than any other characteristic, how educated a woman is and how educated the women in a society are is the best indicator of whether or not those women will have 2 children or 7 children, and if the population as a whole will increase or decrease. The reason for this is when a woman is educated, she has more opportunities. She has more job options. She has the option of getting better jobs. Also, education isn't just about getting a high school or college degree. Education is also about literacy, the ability to read. When a woman can read, she has a lot more power. She can read information, she can read about her options, she can read about her rights, and she can make choices about how many children she wants to have. So a woman's education, her knowledge about what her rights are and what she wants to do with her life, as well as her ability to have opportunities and have choices of what she wants to do with her life, is the most important factor. The second factor is women's employment, and this was talked about in the People Paradox. If a woman has a job, she tends to have less children than a woman who does not have a job. And the reason for that is women are still the primary caregivers in a society. They're the ones who are supposed to take care of the children. So if a woman has a job, she tends to have less children because she does not have the time to take care of more than 1, 2, or 3 children. And therefore, women's employment is an important predictor in a society on whether or not the population will grow or decrease. If the women in a country as a whole have high employment levels, then we probably won't have as many babies being born. If we have low employment levels, not as many women work, then we'll probably have more children being born in that society and the population will grow. A third predictor is women's rights as a whole. When women have more legal rights, they have more choices, more opportunities. And when you have more choices, a woman might choose not to have many kids or not to have children at all. In some countries around the world, it is illegal for girls to go to school. It's illegal for women to get birth control. It's illegal to question the husband. It's illegal to go to work. Women have no choices. And therefore, their only option is to stay home and have children and have as many children that their husband wants them to have. So when a woman has more freedom, then she has the ability to make the decision for herself. And often that means she will decide to have less children. The final predictor does not necessarily have to do with women. This has to do with where you live in the world. The term we use for more people living in a city is urbanization. And what we found is countries that have more urbanization, countries that have more people who live in cities, tend to have less population growth. The reason for this is if you live in a country where most people are farmers, they will have more children. Because on a farm, you need to have children to help you take care of the farm. You have basically free workers. But families who live in the cities, they don't need to have as many children because the children don't have a job. You have to take care of the children. The children aren't there to help you in the fields. Therefore, you have less children because you don't need to have as many children. But if you live on a farm, then you need to have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids in order to help out in the fields. So these are the primary predictors of population growth in a country. Again, it's women's education, women's employment, women's rights, and urbanization, which means, do a lot of people live in cities or do they live in farms? So again, you can replay this video if you need to, and always please ask me any questions if you're unclear of any of the information.